Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today let's talk about the new Age of Sigmar starter sets. I have to say that from my point of view, the new starter sets are much better than the previous starter sets, each one of them. But of course, that's going to be my personal opinion. Now we're going to talk about them, but as always, before that, I invite you to let me know in the comments your opinion about the new starter sets for Age of Sigmar. Let's start talking with the Warhammer Age of Sigmar introductory set, and I have to say that this one is my personal favorite. This one, it's not only the cheapest one, but it's also the one that gives you the Warhammer experience inside of a box, and that's something that I really value. Because of course, Warhammer is about collecting miniatures, then assembling them, painting them, and then playing with them. So of course there's people that value more the playing with them, there's people that value more the collecting them or painting them, but here we have all of that inside of a box. That it's the cheapest one, so it's the easiest to afford. Everyone can get access to the Warhammer experience through this box, and that's something that I'm very happy about. In all the boxes we have a selection of Stormcast Eternal miniatures and then some Skaven miniatures. In this specific box we are going to get 5 Liberators from the Stormcast Eternals, and then we're going to have 20 Clan Rats from the Skavens. Aside from that, we also get 1 brush and 6 paints. That of course it's not a perfect start, but it's a really good starting point. As I said, this is the perfect start for someone that is interested into the hobby of Warhammer and wants to know what is it about, because here you have everything necessary to start. The miniatures are push fit, they are push off from the sprues, so they are quite easy to assemble, and aside from that we have the basic things to start getting these miniatures looking nice. But of course at some point we are going to, let's say, we want to improve what we have there, so of course we will need to get primer, more paints, and if we want to improve these specific armies, it's okay, because we can upgrade them by getting the other starter sets, because they are this specific one is perfectly compatible with the other two, and that's something that I really like. That's why this one is my personal favorite. The only downside, of course, is that maybe someone doesn't want to collect Stormcast Eternals or Skaven. In that case, of course, this set is not that tempting, or it's not that good, because of course, if for example I want to collect Cities of Sigmar, I'm not going to get into these starter sets because I really don't want to collect those miniatures, and it's very important, the miniatures and the armies that we collect. So of course that's the biggest downside. But if someone just wants to get to know what the hobby is about, or is interested into these two specific armies, then it's a really good starting point, and I really like this starter set. Then we have the Age of Sigmar starter set. This is the proper one that is called starter set, because the previous one was introductory set. But this is the middle grounded one, and when it's the middle ground, usually it's not that good. By itself it's okay. I mean, this is more about collecting the miniatures than starting to get to know Warhammer, because here they already assume that you have experience with Warhammer or wargaming in general, and they assume that you are going to have paints, brushes, clippers to take the bits out of the sprues. They assume that you're going to have all of that, so here it's just an upgrade in terms of more miniatures. So aside from the miniatures that we had previously, because the ones that came in the first introductory set, they are also here, we have on the side of the Skaven, aside from those 20 clan rats, we also have 3 rat ogres. Then we have 1 character that is a warlock engineer, and we have another character that is the grazier. On the Stormcast Eternal side, aside from the 5 Liberators that also came in the introductory set, we also have 3 Prosecutors and a super cool looking character that you can see right here. And as in the first introductory set, we also have a soft book that will allow us to get to know these miniatures and get to know us how to play this game. The main difference is that one. Here we are exchanging the supplies to paint the miniature with more miniatures. And of course they are really good looking miniatures, because these ones are bigger, they are more fancy, they look more fun, they are more unique, we have characters, so of course these miniatures are much more tempting, but as we established, this is the middle ground. But from my personal point of view, I don't like this one too much because it is meant to be like that, because let's be honest, the main point of the existence of this starter set is to make the most expensive one to look much more attractive in comparison. Basically, for me, this specific starter set feels like the medium size of popcorn in the cinema. I mean, when we go to the cinema, we usually have a small, medium and big sizes of popcorn, so usually the price difference between the medium and the biggest one is not that big, which makes in our eyes the biggest one to be much more tempting and attractive, in terms that when we look at them we have this feeling of I can get the medium, but if I pay for the more expensive one, it's just a little bit more and I am getting more. So that's how I feel that this starter set feels. But actually, I have to say that this starter set can be much more interesting for already existing Stormcast Eternal players or Skaven players that they just want to increase an existing army, or they want to start an army of this specific faction and they want these miniatures specifically, because this is the selling point of this box, the miniatures. So if someone wants to get these miniatures, then it's much more interesting than for a new player. And finally we have the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Ultimate Starter Set, and as you can see in this picture, this is the most complete out of them. It is the best, but of course it's also the most expensive one. But as I said, if someone wants to get into it, Warhammer by itself, it's not the cheapest of the hobbies, but we can get the introductory set, get to know, see if we like it or not, and then we can jump into this one. So it's okay, because this is not by force the starting point. Of course, it can be like a super nice starting point, but we can do previous steps before that. Now let's talk about the contents. In terms of miniatures, we have everything that came in the previous set that we talked about, and aside from that we have 2 extra characters. And what characters? First of all, let's take a look at this one from the Stormcast Eternal side. This looks glorious and fantastic, really good. And then on the Skaven side we have these other amazing looking miniatures. So we have really 2 good looking characters into those forces. Aside from that, we have terrain, and we also have the rules for Spearhead games that also include the core rules for the basic Warhammer Age of Sigmar games. Spearhead is basically Age of Sigmar battles, but at smaller scale, which means less miniatures and the armies are going to be smaller. So in this specific box we have 2 full Spearhead forces, one for the Stormcast Eternals and another one for the Skaven. So here we have 2 functional armies that we can play with and basically start playing, because we have everything that we need to start playing Age of Sigmar. That's why this one is the best one. It's the most expensive, but it's the most complete one, and of course that makes this one the perfect starter point to actually start playing and enjoying the game. Of course, as I said, the most expensive, and we need to be sure if we want to get in with this one. But as I mentioned earlier, these starter sets are the most attractive if we want those miniatures. If we are not interested in those miniatures, there's no point about getting those starter sets. And I'm going to use the exact same example again. Let's say that I go to a Warhammer store and I want to get into Age of Sigmar, and I check the miniatures and I decide that my favorite ones and the ones that I want to collect are the Cities of Sigmar ones. So then, what's the point for me to be interested into these starter sets? Instead of getting these ones, I could get the army that I actually want. So that's something that's also like really important here. These starter sets are only very attractive if we want these miniatures. But basically the ultimate starter set is the better one in terms of the quantity of the things that we have inside, and of course it's the one that will allow us to actually play spearhead games. So that's very important. And of course it's quite easy to split if we want to get it with someone, because if we know someone that wants one of those armies and we want the other one, it's very easy to split, because as I said, we have 2 full spearhead forces. So of course there's a lot of things that will make this box much more attractive, and as I said, it's the most complete one, and it looks much better in terms of contents than the previous one from my point of view. But I think that we all can agree that the new starter sets for the new edition of Age of Sigmar are much better than the previous ones. At least that's how I feel about it. And basically those are my first thoughts, impressions and review of the new Age of Sigmar starter sets. As usual, I invite you to let me know in the comments your opinion about them, and as always, if you are still here, please consider giving me a like and subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.